The Miami Dolphins are standing at a crossroads, and whether they take the right path or end up lost in the shuffle of an ultra-competitive AFC might just come down to one decision. Not from the front office, not from the coaching staff, but from one man, Calais Campbell. The defensive line is a glaring issue, a problem that can't be ignored. And yet, the team isn't making any big moves to address it. Why? Because they're waiting. Waiting on Campbell. Waiting on a decision that could shape the identity of this defense. Let's not pretend this is just another free agency waiting game. This is bigger. This is about more than just finding a veteran to plug a hole. This is about whether the Dolphins can maintain the defensive front that has been the backbone of their success, or if they are about to take a massive step back. Campbell, a six-time Pro Bowler, a former All-Pro, a leader in every locker room he's ever stepped into, is the difference between stability and uncertainty. The numbers alone tell a story. 110.5 sacks, 917 tackles, a near Defensive Player of the Year season in 2017, and the kind of impact that goes far beyond the stat sheet. This is a guy who elevates everyone around him, a presence that cannot be replicated easily. At 39 years old, the question is no longer about whether he can still play at a high level. The 2024 season made that clear. 5 sacks, 5 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, 52 tackles, and 12 tackles for loss, while playing 58% of the snaps. That's not the stat line of a player on his last legs. That's production that still moves the needle. The question now is about what Campbell wants. Retirement? One last run in Miami? A fresh start somewhere else? That's the choice hanging over everything. The Dolphins are in limbo, and the longer this drags out, the riskier it gets. Christian Wilkins is gone. That's a massive loss, no way around it. Zach Sealer is still here, and he's a key piece, but he can't do it alone. The trenches are thin, and free agency isn't overflowing with elite options at this stage. The best players are getting scooped up. Teams are making moves, and the Dolphins? They're standing still. That's not always a bad thing. Patience can pay off. But patience can also be dangerous. Wait too long, and suddenly the choices are gone. Suddenly, you're overpaying for a desperate stopgap or hoping a rookie can step in and be a game-changer from day one. That's not how you build a championship-caliber defense. If Campbell comes back, the Dolphins have a veteran presence who can hold the line. He would start opposite Sealer, providing the experience and leadership this group desperately needs. If he doesn't, the options get thin fast. Miami's already walking a fine line, and one wrong step could turn a position of concern into a full-blown crisis. And yet, despite the uncertainty at one of the most crucial positions on the roster, the Dolphins have been active in other areas. They've made re-signings, bringing back linebacker Quentin Bell, defensive back Elijah Campbell, offensive tackle Jackson Carman, and wide receiver D. Eskridge. Necessary moves, sure, but game changers? Not really. These are depth pieces, roster stabilizers, guys who can fill roles, but aren't moving the needle in the way a dominant defensive lineman would. Quentin Bell has been in the league for 4 seasons, bouncing between Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and Miami. He's played in 27 games, starting 3, and while he's a solid rotational linebacker, he's not the answer to Miami's pass rushing concerns. He's got a sack to his name, but he's more of a special teams contributor than anything else. Elijah Campbell has been with Miami for 4 seasons, appearing in 55 games, but only starting 3. He's played on special teams, made a few plays here and there, but he's not a difference maker in the secondary. He's a depth guy, a player you keep around because he knows the system and provides insurance. Jackson Carman is an offensive lineman with some starting experience, but nothing that suggests he's about to become a key piece of this unit. In 2024, he played in 8 games, starting just 1 at right tackle. Before that, he was with Cincinnati, where he was a rotational piece. If Miami is looking for real upgrades on the offensive line, Carman is more of a backup plan than a solution. D. Eskridge brings speed to the wide receiver room, but he's yet to truly establish himself in the NFL. In his first season with Miami, he caught 3 passes for 44 yards, adding 5 kickoff returns for 146 yards. He's been in the league for a few years, spending time in Seattle, but his role has never expanded beyond being a situational player. None of these signings are bad. They're the kind of moves teams make to fill out the roster, to make sure they have depth at key positions. But they aren't the kind of moves that win championships. They don't solve the looming question that still hangs over this team. They don't address the defensive line. And that brings us back to where we started. The Dolphins have decisions to make, but before they can make them, they need an answer from Campbell. If he returns, the defense gets a leader, a veteran force who can still contribute at a high level. If he doesn't, Miami needs to pivot fast. The longer they wait, the fewer options they'll have.